I have been addressing the utility, narrative for so long on this channel. It's actually very interesting to see 2025 shaping up to be the year where we start to kind of, really witness some of the biggest moves around utility. I think that 2025 is shaping up to be the year where we have these utility projects really kind of put in the spotlight. And I think that all of the time researching, studying these projects, and just kind of learning about their intricate connections to the traditional system, I think all of it's going to pay off in a big way. And in this video, I really want to address a lot that's going on with not just, XRP, but also HBAR, XLM, and even XDC. So sit back, relax, and welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So let's talk about this video clip that came up on my timeline, and it got posted by Subjective Views. And this video clip is actually very important because it highlights what's happening right now. Now, if we look at the names here, these are some very significant players. And by the way, the quote that's within this is, "The train has left. If you run fast, you'll be able to get on board." That's a direct quote here. Listen to what they are speaking about when it comes to this technology.
Well, I'll move on from spaghetti and talk about a duck, because you've got these big institutions, they're gliding across the sort of the financial services pond, but there's a lot of paddling going on underneath. And very interesting talking to DCCC a couple of weeks ago, and prior to that to Euroclear, and they were very, very blunt, and basically saying, look, the train's left. You've got a chance, if you run fast, you'll be able to get on board. This isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I think you need to look at the slight bigger picture. Most of you are involved to a greater or less extent in financial services. But I think we need to bear in mind that in the real world, where 66% of currently UK employees work, i.e. SMEs, where there's 400 million SMEs globally, they suffer from a real problem. And that's cash flow. Most small businesses don't go bust because they're not profitable. They go bust because they've got to wait 30, 60, 90 days to get their money. So if we can see some form of, bear in mind, this is the Digital Bound Foundation's day, this is about, you can tokenize everything. We know you can tokenize everything. The credit cards have been using tokenization for years. Every transaction they tokenize. So there's nothing new about the technology. We know DLTs and blockchains. We know all of those scale and they work. As the Prof said earlier on, he's got a blockchain again since 1995, and it's doing trillions of transactions a month. We know the repo market is doing, it's doing $1 trillion a month at the moment. HSBC, FX everywhere. It's faster and cheaper than CLS. So it all works, but I think perhaps we need to slightly widen our gaze and look what's happening in the real world, and how do we solve those real world problems with SMEs, because whether you like it or not, the agenda has to be on growth, because the amount of debt that we have, not just in this country, but globally, is going to kill us. So the only way is we either default or we find a faster way to grow. So increase productivity, get paid faster, bring in the programmability that Daniel's talking about. But to do that, yes, you probably will need new custodian services like Zodia. But we shouldn't get overly complicated by the technology. We do have a major problem, and that is, as soon as you mention the words blockchain, people immediately say, oh, Bitcoin, Ponzi scheme, I don't want to get involved in that. So it's not education, it's re-education we need. But I think it's worth keeping an eye on the big picture, and the big picture is actually not financial services, but it's actually real small businesses that can really benefit and grow faster, because you've simply got a faster velocity of money. So that's where we see something being really, really useful. We don't tend to talk about issuing debt and buying funds on a day-to-day basis with the retail public, but it's really important for the institutions. If they can get faster and more efficient, those benefits should actually flow through to faster economic growth.
Now, what he is mentioning here is so significant, right? The current system is broken. There's practically zero financial growth happening. Using these new technologies, these technologies could be the answer to the issues that are plaguing the traditional system in a big way. Much more financial opportunities can be gained through utilizing this technology. We're talking about improving processes, making things a lot more faster, a lot more cheaper. promoting even more financial gain as well. And what's crazy is this is at a significant conference. And the names that were tied to this conference, we had players from, from London. We had players from Quant there. Global Digital Finance was there. Major fintech companies. You had, managing directors of large, financial companies. You had the GBBC there represented, the CBT. Clearbank was there, and they're all addressing, policy, regulations, use cases, privacy, identity, payments, tokenization, all of these things that this technology, is setting the stage for. Everything that this technology also needs to be, accepted and utilized. They're preparing. We're starting to see the preparation phase, starting to come to an end. But what's crazy about this is, yes, we look at the opportunities that this technology can open, up. For an example, we go over here to August 8th of 2023. Ripple posted this: SME cross-border payments, a growth opportunity for banks. All right. SMEs make up 90% of the world's businesses and are crucial contributors to many regional economies. But the issue is that they're plagued with inefficiencies. It's actually very hard for them to actually tap into financial services. And a lot of the traditional ways of financial services and banking in general are lackluster for them. They need higher speeds. We have SMEs need for speed. We have a report actually by Citi talking about their expansive role in mitigating supply chain disruptions, and MasterCard's 2022 borderless payments report finds that 58% of SMEs are sending and receiving more cross-border payments now than they were before 2020. But the issue is that even though there's a massive amount of money on the line, 110 trillion, all right, SMEs are still extremely underserved. But also, we have the inefficiencies of transacting in today's society, from slow processing times to high transaction charges, and the lack of payments transparency. Cross-border flows are plagued with inefficiencies that SMEs frankly cannot afford. So we look at Ripple payments. We look at, blockchain. Blockchain is the key answer to this. But it's not just cross-border payments, right? Because we also look at asset tokenization. Even going back to July 15th, asset tokenization today and tomorrow. We actually have down here, right? Tokenization use cases, the real deal of digitization. With a promise to remove payment gateway intermediaries, improve payment processor efficiencies, ensure data protection, data privacy, and transparency, and enable real-time settlement, tokenization is championed as the real deal function of blockchain technology. And again, we look at, all right, well, how is this going to tackle all of these big problems? Like, for an example, debt and, high cost and things like that. What efficiencies is it really going to open up? Well, we look at additional tokenization use cases include enhanced capital flows for small and medium-sized enterprises. Boom. You're starting to see significant payment flows. Improved efficiencies in carbon credit trading and better price discovery compared to traditional assets. So we're actually going to see SMEs save a ton of more money, make a lot more money. I mean, when we really think about what's happening here through this technology, it's the answer to a lot of the issues that are plaguing the traditional system. But then you also look at Hedera, okay? And Hedera really did do a great job on this. We have Hedera for the enterprise. Hedera enables disparate businesses or business units and participants to create a real-time view of application events across a number of use cases without the need for centralized operators or complex permissions. And here are all of the use cases. We have asset tokenization, track and trace, fraud mitigation, ERP, CRM, and EAM. We have identity and authentication, and then permissioned blockchain. Now, a lot of what we see in here doesn't seem like much, right? It doesn't seem like much. But then when you actually look at the underlying picture with asset tokenization or payments and all of these other use cases, you're now starting to see the big picture. Because utilizing DLT is so much cheaper than utilizing traditional ways of transacting. traditional ways of, going about everyday processes in terms of like enterprise processes, you're starting to see things being completely revolutionized. And through that revolutionization, through this tech, you're also starting to see economic opportunities opening up. A lot more revenue generating opportunities as well. We actually look at enterprise applications over here that are already on Hedera. Some of these are huge. You have tokenization, major things being solved around like healthcare, for an example. But if you look at some of these underlying use cases, you are starting to see a much bigger picture painted for you, which is the economic growth. Even Stellar actually has a Stellar Enterprise Fund. And within this, they already have a ton of use cases and companies tapped in. For example, this is their portfolio of enterprise grade clients and customers. I mean, these are some very big players, but also some very small players, but it is a solid portfolio of some enterprise players that are already, being utilized through the enterprise fund portfolio. But when we go over here to tokenization, again, tokenization continues to be brought up in conversation simply because of how significant tokenization will be and how much money out there will be tokenized. All of that money that is going to be tokenized, you're going to see the reality of this tech. You're going to see why this tech is so disruptive. Like, we have the native asset control, we have the ease of building, things like that. But then you have the operating cost reduction. And that's the focus here, especially when we're thinking about the big banks, the institutions, and things like that. We look at the operating cost reduction. And when you look at this, we have reduced the cost of processing financial transactions by replacing redundant record-keeping systems with the open source Stellar blockchain for instant settlement 24/7. But this is also the same exact thing when you look at Hedera for tokenization, or you look at, the XRP ledger for tokenization. And then you also look at cross-border payments, which, by the way, cross-border payments are starting to be tokenized. When we think about all of this, we're cutting out the intermediaries, which are feeding off of the traditional system in a massive way. You wouldn't even believe how much they're eating off of the traditional system. Okay, so you cut out those intermediaries. And then you look at the lower cost. You look at all of the things that are cut out by utilizing blockchain, and all of a sudden, you're starting to see massive amounts of money unlocked, trapped capital, trillions of dollars. I mean, when we think about blockchain, it's the secret sauce. It really is the secret sauce. Now, on top of this, let's go over here to XDC. XDC Enterprise. With roots across industries, XDC Network serves as the backbone for many unique enterprise applications, such as ISO 222 messaging and those designed to support global trade. Security and scalability on the network translate to more reliable and efficient platforms for everyone. And again, when we're thinking about what they're doing for these enterprises, for anyone that's using these networks, you're seeing those low transaction fees. You're seeing the speed, the scalability, the capabilities around smart contracts, the high security. All of that is great. But when we look at the efficiencies of utilizing these types of networks versus the legacy systems, it's a night and day. It's a completely night and day situation and experience. This is why blockchain technology is becoming such a big piece already of the traditional system. And it's only going to continue to grow and grow and grow. I mean, just looking at some of these solutions here, you could see why these networks will be much, much bigger than, what they are today. You're starting to see all of the inefficiencies of the traditional systems mitigated. But you're also starting to see so many more efficiencies unlocked through these technologies. Even when you go over to the original announcement of XDC joining the ITFA, right? This is the first blockchain company to join the global TFDI. Okay. Within this, you could see that they're closing the 3 to 5 trillion SME trade finance gap. But these solutions, these new solutions are actually going to be unlocking a lot more liquidity, a lot more financial opportunities. The overall view here of DLT itself is so much more significant than what everyone is realizing. It's not just about, it's going to, increase efficiencies around transacting. It's also going to unlock so much money. That's why when we go back to that initial video over here, right, we hear the train has left. If you run fast enough, you'll be able to get on board. The train is moving so fast because of what opportunities are being realized through these networks and through this new technology. Even going all the way back to 2020, XDC Network put out a great post regarding alternative finance, new opportunities with tokenization and digital assets. This was back in 2020, mind you. As new SME financing platforms emerge, tokenization and DeFi will enable organizations to tap into new and unconventional liquidity sources. This is also going to unlock a lot more money for the SME market as well. And even over here, we have a 1 and 19 minute, it's 1 minute and 19 second long clip. Dive into the latest XDC APAC podcast. And here we're actually seeing some topics covered. Number 1 is debt financing solution for SMEs with PeerHive. Why they chose XDC Network for their platform. How blockchain is reducing financing cost and the challenges in future roadmap. Check it out.
Chose XDCs because we believe that XDC RWA centric approach is very suitable for us. And there's a lot of compatible dApp on XDC that we can work together. Especially one of this app that I couldn't remember the name.
XSwap? Is it XSwap? The DEX, that's a DEX, right?
Yeah, but by Sunil yesterday.
XDC Trade Network.
Yes, XDC Trade Network.
Yeah.
I think that would be very beneficial for us over there.
Correct.
So we can digitize all the invoices and everything, can work together, and everything is run through a XDC network in this case.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's the whole idea. Because, see, you can't win solo, right?
Yes.
You need the partnership and the ecosystem to come in together when you are pitching it to your end user, right? In this case, you have the investors, the credit unions, and the SMEs, right?
Obviously.
So obviously, when you partner with XDC, you have this ecosystem support as well. And, as you rightly said, so we can digitize these documents where XDC Trade Network comes into play.
So again, as we really look at blockchain itself, real world use cases are going to completely become so, just the real world applications and the solutions that are unlocked through this type of technology. You look at the benefits. And how this tech could be plug and played into almost every single aspect of life. Enterprises, institutions, they're all going to be looking at this technology because of the opportunity that they are going to realize, which is, of course, the new financial gain that they can unlock. They're cutting out intermediaries. They're cutting out middlemen. Just in general, blockchain immediately, upon being incorporated globally for payments, can free up so much trapped capital. You have non-fungible accounts that are holding well over $20+ trillion in them. That's immediately, that's immediately unlocked. The technology, we've been talking about this technology for years now. And the reason why is because the adoption is going to be so massive once we start to see every single institution realize this. Franklin Templeton already said it with Stellar, right? To transact, to settle 50,000 transactions in the traditional world, it is so expensive. But when settling 50,000 transactions through Stellar, it's night and day. It's night and day. So much money is being wasted. And that's why we look at, what's being said in these conferences where they're saying blockchain could be the answer to a lot of these issues because it's plaguing. It really is plaguing traditional markets. This is why we look at how disruptive this tech will be. And we also look at how massive this tech will be as well. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.